So hey everyone, Kim here. I know I just did a pop-up RLE yesterday, but I wanted to do a revisit on Alan, the actor from Reacher. And I realize a lot of Christians, right? The moment you hear someone say, "Oh, I'm a Christian," or whatever the case may be, you flock to that. You give them a hearty thumbs up, and yet we never really do a deep dive on them. So lo and behold, here he is today. And I had already covered the pastor, and I use that term loosely, that Alan is now endorsing. And I wanted to share this with you because this is why we are living in the day and age, this church age that we're living in. Alan is endorsing someone who is twisting the words of Jesus. I will put the link to the full video from Tim Mackie in the description box. You can see the whole hour video yourself. I just wanted to raise this up so you guys are aware that the Jesus that these people serve is not the Jesus of the Bible. And again, listen to when people speak. Listen to Alan. We're created beings. It's all these new age buzz terms. I feel like I'm ready just to whip out some kindling and start singing Kumbaya. So anyway, I want to put this pop-up super fast, and I'm not going to talk. We'll let them do all the talking this week.
A little late to the party, but better late than never, I suppose. Today is Sunday. It's an Insta-church day for me. This is a day where I step back from my career, my ambitions. I ignore those parts of myself that we like to usually identify with our identity, and acknowledge that that we are more than our careers. We are more than our goals or ambitions. We are spiritual beings in a human realm, and there is something very important about us pursuing our spiritual growth, our bodily growth, and harmonizing the two. And I think that's when we're our best. But we can't do that unless we first acknowledge that, one, we're created beings, two, that our Creator is good and holy and righteous and calls us to the same thing. And in doing so, brings through that covenant love life, and we can share that life with others, and we can help others heal in the darkness and the pain of this world. That is what we're called to be, and that kind of self-sacrificial love is, I think, the height of our purpose and meaning. So that is what Sundays are for me, realigning my purpose. And many people go to church on Sundays. Many people have their community groups on Sundays that help them do the same thing. I, as a sojourner with very little connection to certain communities or home, this is how it works for me. But I want to share somebody who I feel like is so inspired that I can't synthesize this or distill this conversation down. But there was a conversation in 2015 by Tim Mackie, I think one of the most important pastors we have today, somebody with a PhD in Hebrew studies, which gives his understanding of especially the Old Testament a great depth and richness that I think many modern pastors miss. He tackled an issue that is very complex and very controversial, delving into even homosexuality and Christianity. And it was handled so well, I think it's worth just sharing the entire thing. So I'm introducing you today to Tim Mackie, if you don't already know. This conversation happened in 2015, but it's more relevant today than ever, I feel like. And I think it's important, and it brings us back to the central, most important focus of, I think, where the treasure really lies in our lives, which is, it brings us back to a loving, compassionate relationship with Christ and with ourselves. So I want to get out of the way today, and I want to share with you this sermon from Tim Mackie in 2015. I hope you enjoy, and I hope it resonates with you like it did with me.
And I've had the strange privilege and wonderful experience of reading and reflecting on Matthew 19 that we just read aloud with so many different kinds of people, with single people who are straight and wishing they could be married, with single people who are gay and wishing they could be married or planning on getting married. I'm going to do what I always try and do, right? Which is, what is Jesus saying? What did he mean in his context, in his time, and in his place? Because especially in issues and passages like this, it's so tempting to make Jesus say what we would like him to say. And we want Door of Hope to be that kind of community because Jesus formed that kind of community around himself. And Jesus was also really clear that he called people to follow him, and that following him would challenge every part of our lives, especially in areas where we don't resonate with him. And so we end up creating churches where people who are not married feel second class, and where people who are gay feel even more ostracized, because where do they fit, right? And so here we're right to it. In Jesus' view, there are multiple ways that a human can image God's love. One of them will be through marriage, which Jesus defines as man, woman, one humanity, gendered opposites coming together to procreate, covenant promises, create new humans as an image of the covenant love of God. Outside of that, Jesus envisions a full, meaningful, significant human existence that does not involve having sex or having children, but it does involve a life of covenant love. Oh, absolutely. And actually, it involves a life of covenant love that is on a completely different level. Here's the reality. Sex feels good. It is not the pathway to ecstasy, because sex produces about as much heartbreak as it does ecstasy. What does a life of singleness, whether you're straight, whether you're gay, doesn't matter. What does a life of singleness dedicated to Jesus lead to? You have enormous amounts of time and resources free now to dedicate to serving others, to loving others in the name of Jesus. And the history of the church is marked by incredible, incredible heroes and heroines of the faith who have done that. And their lives were not diminished in one bit. But somehow we've grown up in a culture that makes that seem ludicrous and second-rate. And I actually think we're the ones who are not seeing clearly. I don't think Jesus would recognize our culture's redefinition of marriage and separating it from gender. And precisely not because he's a bigot. I can't think of a less bigoted person on the planet, right, than Jesus, but here he is. Some people say that Jesus never said anything that weighs in on the debate about the definition of marriage in our culture. And I can't, in intellectual integrity, say that's true, because he said this, which seems to me to really get to the heart of the matter. And so if I'm a follower of Jesus and I sense the high calling to not be married and to give my life, sexual orientation doesn't matter, he's calling me to not have sex with people of the opposite gender or the same gender. He doesn't highlight one as more than the other.
If anyone thinks that Alan or Tim serve the right Jesus, they're wrong. You have to call it out what it is. It wasn't during Jesus' time, because then basically we would have to rewrite the entire Bible, because none of that would fit into our day according to his logic. Anyway, please, let's stop putting these celebrities on a pedestal and avoid lumping everybody who calls themselves a Christian as a true follower of Christ.